Hey mate, I'm glad you're here. I need some help from you because bow hunting is under attack here in South Australia, and before you just skip ahead, it's really important that you know that the fight is not over, and we need you to do some stuff for us to make sure that bow hunting isn't lost within South Australia and then potentially lost around the rest of Australia. The thing that we've now found out is who are some of the MPs that are actually on our side, and what we need to do is get as many emails to these guys saying, hey, we want you to keep bow hunting alive. And so one of the MPs that is on our side is Mr. Eddie Hughes. And the best way to get in touch with him is through the CHASA website. So I'm going to talk you through it right now. We can do it. You can jump on your phone or on your computer and we'll do it together. So we're going to go to chasa.com.org. Sorry, let's start again. CHASA is chasa.org.au. chasa.org.au. At the top, we're going to go across, or if you're on your phone, it's a little drop-down menu box. We're going to go to Mail My MP. And when that one pops up for you, you're going to have to put in a postcode. Now, the postcode to get in touch with Mr. Eddie Hughes is 5608. 5608. Click through to that one there. You're going to put all of your details in, and then you're going to select, as we have a look down the bottom here, support bow hunting. It's use template 3 is the option that we want to select before you go ahead and send all of that information. And that will auto-populate an email for you to be able to send. You need to click that you're not a robot and send it away. And that is just one of the many little things that you can do to help support bow hunting, this passion that we all love and are very, very passionate about. It's the one way that you can start to put your hand up and say, hey, I'm a bow hunter and I really support what bow hunting is all about. And the fake and false claims that Anna Close, or whatever her name is not on, and we are not going to stand for it as a community. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. This episode is brought to you by Dog and Gun Coffee. I absolutely love my morning brew, and I will often use the Samba blend, but they actually have a lot of different brews, and many different camps I've been on. I've been fortunate enough to be able to take a whole heap of their preloaded filters, the drip filters that you are able to just pour hot water straight over, and you've got coffee on the run wherever you are, as long as you've got your hot water ready to roll. And so I've been fortunate enough to be able to share things like their Red Stag, things like their Wapiti blend, things like their Chamois blend. And I'll tell you what, they are all delicious. But not only do these guys do great coffee, they've also got some really cool merchandise that's out and available right now. So you can find that all across at their website. But before you head over there, make sure that when you go to the checkout, you use the code BOWHUNTER, that's all in capitals, BOWHUNTER, and that will get you $10 off your next order.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bow Hunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Welcome back to Becoming a Bow Hunter. This week is a great little episode. It is another podcast that we recorded in the middle of a hunt. And realistically, I'll be honest, we were on the source when we did this podcast, so there might be, I'll put a language warning out. That's maybe the best way to say it. If you've got little people listening along with you, maybe put their earmuffs on or tell them not to repeat what Matty says. But we had a whole heap of fun on this trip with Matt Williams, and I was very graced to be able to go down to his block and share it with him. It was actually the first and last time he got to hunt that block, unfortunately, because there's some work stuff that went on. But we had a blast. There's some really good stories that we tell. A whole heap of learnings that we got to go through as well. Because realistically, they were just some very skittish pigs, and I've since talked to a lot of different people about their thoughts on what was actually happening and why we had the dealings that we did, and I'll happily share them, but maybe after you've listened to the podcast instead. So if you've got any insights you want to share, please send them my way. Send them to Matt. He'd happily hear them as well. But yeah, we've definitely got some good answers from some very smart bow hunters from around Australia that are often around pigs. So for you, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. I know that we definitely had a lot of fun recording it. Yeah. Alrighty, bow hunters, welcome back to Becoming a Bow Hunter. We're sitting here in pig camp, we'll call it, hey?
Pig camp sounds good.
Sitting here with Matt Williams. Welcome, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, man. We've just had a good few action-packed days.
Yeah, mate, she's been intense, I'm not going to lie. Some of the hardest hunting I've done, that's for sure.
It was, you know what, I'll tell you this to start with. I've been very lucky to go on to a few blocks now, and every block has something in common, and that's a lot of logs and rocks that look like animals.
100%, and there's plenty of them here.
Fucking a lot of them. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, we came in with some big expectations. I feel like we came with the expectation that it was going to be real easy.
100%, mate. The trail cams made it seem like we were just going to pump pigs all day long, and it was not like that at all.
I think the best thing to actually start with, let's talk about your prep. So coming into this, essentially this is one of the farm blocks that you're a part of a business that has multiple farm blocks. This is one of the farm blocks that you had access to that was pretty much midway between us. And you said, mate, not even midway, but you're like, mate, I'll happily drive up there if you want to make that trip down rather than making the 8 or 10 hour drive down to me. Let's do it up there instead. And I was like, heck yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And it was a block that neither of us had hunted on, obviously, before, and not a lot of hunting pressure ever really happens. Like, they did have a pigger at one point.
They still do, but he just doesn't ever come out. And then once I said to Jack, whenever we said that we were going to do it, like
2-3 months ago, whatever it was, yeah. I feel like it was around the time that I pretty much finished up my hunt after Randy's block.
It was a while back now, mate, because I think I've had the cam set up for like 2 months easy,
you
I reckon.
Definitely got out, yeah. And so you were just sending me updates all the time. So essentially you came up here just to do some work, right?
Yeah. Just went for a burn around with Jack. I was working on the machinery and we just went for a drive one day and there was just pigs everywhere. And I was like...
Jack being the manager of this property.
That's it, yep. Jackie Legs, yeah. And we just went for a burn out in this... Well, in that paddock that we've been up around there, and there was pigs everywhere. So I was like, I'm going to come up for a bow hunt. And he had cams set up for the dogs. So, he'd been saying the pigs on them cameras, and we put up a couple more and put some grain underneath.
And they just fucking flocked to it.
They did. Lots of them.
Lots. And he didn't really send you much. Like, he would just send you the best of the best in a sense.
He'd send me 6 to 12 photos a week out of thousands and thousands of photos.
Yeah. And so we came with the expectation that it was just going to be cruisy sailing, really.
Yep.
And we got here and it was drizzly and foggy and miserable.
Terrible.
And we went out and we were on the hillside. We'd been tracking around for a while and we're on the hillside. And I said to you, dude, I was like, man, if I was a pig, I would not be in this fucking shit. Like, I'd be right on the other side in the calmest part. And we were like, oh, maybe not. And then we walked around. We found this big old calm spot. And it was within seconds we saw our first pigs.
Yeah, we seen the first one.
Down the hill there.
Yep.
Actually, no, we saw the boys walking through.
That's right, yeah. No, you spotted one, and then we seen the big fella up above us that we didn't see previously.
So we saw 3 pigs, I think, below us, and we started manoeuvring straight to them. We just got eyes on.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
We got eyes on and just went for them, and I took probably 10 steps, and you go, Matty.
Yeah.
And there was a big boy. Like, we haven't seen him since, and he obviously saw us and was like, okay.
I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, I'm in no time around here anymore.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's one Jack's been saying, like...
He said it was a big boy about.
Yeah, he reckons over a tonner, so, yeah, over 100 kegs, yeah.
Yeah, do you reckon he would have been?
I don't think so. He was a big pig, but I don't recken he was a tonner, no.
No.
I don't reckon we seen that big pig Jack's
I don't think we
seen.
did. And, we've hunted this block pretty darn hard.
Oh, yeah, we've covered a lot of it.
A lot of ground.
Most of it you can... Anything that you could walk.
We've been amongst. But that first day, like once we actually got onto the pigs,
because it was wet in the ground, it was so easy to sneak up on them.
Yep, real.
And there was just no crispiness or anything.
Nah.
And there's no real wind about, or the little wind that was there was all in our face.
Yep.
And you were nice enough to give me that first shot. And we got up on that hill, and I just literally, I pumped it up this hill. I had this log in my way pretty much, just used it as my block and knocked over the pig straight away. Yeah. He ran, 50 metres and knocked over pretty much.
Yeah, only just 52, mate. Yeah, that was it.
And then it literally before, I think he dropped over. Like, we didn't actually see him drop. We just knew he was there somewhere. And we saw the other two boys running up the hill. We're like, cool, let's go after them.
Mr. Floppy Ears, who I'd been keeping an eye on for a long time.
It was funny because we had these two pigs that were rocking up on the cameras all the time, Floppy Ears and the black and white one. So I love the black and white one. You love the Floppy Ears one.
Yeah.
And we got up in amongst this blackberries and stuff, and they got a bit aware at one point, and they knew there was something up, but they didn't really know what. And they ran 10 metres and then stopped and then kind of manoeuvred back down. You were able to get around. But you had plenty of shots at black and white one. You didn't take them.
Nah,
you let it be.
I could have shot the black and white fella so many more times than Floppy Ears, but I had in the back of my head, that's Matty's pig, and plus I wanted
the floppy
I wanted
ears
that
as well.
floppy eared
It's
fella.
good that we had that attraction to each of them.
He was just a different pig, that floppy eared fella.
Definitely. And then pretty much you end up getting a great shot on him within 6 metres.
6 metres, yeah.
It was crazy.
But I thought I'd mucked it up a couple of times. Like, I think I stood on a stick there one time, and
I mean, one of the biggest things is you were at full draw for so long.
Yeah.
Because you had blackberry bushes just right in front of you.
Couldn't get a clear shot, and they were front on to me for so long, and it was just not a clear shot. And then I was just about to pump the white fella, and then Floppy Ears walked down like, "Oh, you ripper!"
Here we go.
And there we go.
And we saw him run, and then we heard him crash, and we're like, okay, we're thinking you're both down. So then that was right on nightfall, right? We had probably another 2, 3, 4 minutes of light.
Yeah, I think we had to turn on the headlights straight away to go looking for him.
Back, got the packs and go for it.
Yep.
And so we went looking for my guy first, found him eventually. We tried to retrace our steps and could not find blood anywhere just because of the water on the ground.
Yep.
And then, we actually just found him down the bushes. We're like, surely he couldn't have run too far. Because we had footage, heck, that was good.
Oh, it makes it so easy.
It really does, because you're like, heck, well, okay, there's 3 trees along here, and he's run between these two rather than those two, or rather than running the whole way around. It was just nice to have that reference point.
Yep.
And so that definitely made it a lot easier to find him. And so we got some pics real quick. He was actually a big body boy.
Yeah, he was a big fella.
Yeah, I said to you.
The photos definitely doesn't do that pig justice.
No way. But I said to you, his body was as big as the ball that I shot at Grant Rand's block. And no way to lie there.
Yeah, see, that's crazy, because, like, the photo of that pig, that big fella, like, that looks like an absolute monster of a ball.
And he was. Like, his top end was freaking heavy, but I mean, like, the length and the width of him and stuff. Because he was on his way back down, right? He's an old boy. But
that's right, yeah.
But to see someone like that, like, he was only young. Their hooks were small, right? Like, they're probably year 2, maybe.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you age them, mate, but they were about an inch and a bit longer, I suppose. Like, both pigs pretty well similar. Yours had a broken off one, didn't he?
Yeah, man, the broken hooks. Tell you what. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it's just like you and finding arrows. You're a beast.
And then we got over to your boy, and he was actually just as easy to find. Like, he was easier than my boy to find.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, we walked straight up on him. Because we didn't know the country, so we didn't really know.
No, we had no idea.
And I didn't see where he went at all. I lost him in the blackberry straight away, so I did not have a clue. I just heard the big thud down, and that's when I give you the thumbs up, and I was like, oh, he's down, that fella. So.
Yeah, and there's an audible thud.
Oh, yeah, no,
like, he went down.
It was loud, and then the little rolls after it.
Yeah.
Didn't find my arrow.
No, yeah, we think that's stuck in the blackberry bushes, maybe.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But, dude, let's take a pause there. Where do you, like, your background in hunting, when did you kind of come into things?
Bow hunting or?
No, hunting in general.
So, hunting in general, as a young fella, used to just go pig chasing with me mate and his dad all the time from like 10 or 12 years old.
Yeah, well, that's kind of started the addiction.
Yeah, loved it. Just loved it. Never had dogs till I was, probably, I think I got my first one when I was 17.
And then you started running your own operations, essentially.
Yeah, I lived on farms, so it was pretty easy for me to do it. But I never sort of got right into it until 21, 22.
Is that when you started boxing?
Yeah,
pigs?
that's when
so
we started.
boxing pigs meaning that you were getting them for commercial use, right?
Yep.
And so what was the change that you found there when you got into commercial? What was the big changes?
We actually didn't box for too long because it took a lot of fun out of the scenario.
Yeah,
it sort of made it into a job.
Definitely.
You went out thinking that you always had to pick the biggest ones out of the mob, and you'd leave you'd sort of do a lot of work for
Not a lot of pay.
Yeah, that's
As
right.
such.
Yeah, and they didn't. You'd want to be boxing a lot of pigs to make money off it.
Yeah, got you.
A lot.
Were you paid per pig or were you paid per night?
No, you're paid per pig per kilo. So
yeah.
the only times you really made good dollars was when they were $1 a kilo, and that wasn't often. They'd have little rises. Sometimes they go down to low as 50, 60 cents a kilo.
Yeah. You think about that, you got to knock over a lot of pigs to make any decent money, right?
Yeah, and I think they had to be 25 kilo too,
at least.
Yeah, at least 25.
Bone in or out?
No, that's just so that's
whole
whole pig gutted.
Gutted, yeah, got you.
Yep. So it was, you could spend a lot of time for not much money.
Definitely.
And in the end, mate, we just done it for fun.
Me
got
rid of that.
Me mate had heaps of country, so.
But you were saying also the transition in because with the dogs, the idea is you get the dogs to catch them.
Yep.
So you can come up and shank them with a knife, essentially.
Yeah, you just stick them. Yep.
Yeah, and so you found that you had to transition because you were no longer allowed to shank them through the side, stab them through the side. You had to stab them through the throat, you were saying?
Had to go down through the throat, so they couldn't have any wounds on the outside of the body. Like, you'd get rejected at the chillers if they had big, mad wounds. Like, even if it was just from, fighting pigs, other pigs and stuff like that.
Do you over.
Or really, the dogs couldn't chew the ears real bad. Like, I don't know what it's like now, mate. I've been out of it for a long time.
I'd say it'd be probably even more strict, to be honest.
It probably is, yeah. But, if you had a real bad chewed up-eared pig, they'd just reject it.
That's so crazy, hey?
Yeah. But when you weren't sort of doing it for the chiller, you didn't even have to flip the pig.
You just
the dispatch was easy, straight into the heart, and
you're good to go,
and job's done. But
yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that. And I mean, obviously, they have to keep standards because it's going to go on for consumption.
100%. Yeah.
We'll jump to it eventually, but we butcher up a pig today, and seeing the amount of coagulation that they get through the wound
mate,
is pretty crazy, right? So you kind of understand why they would want it through that position, but also to get it through the knife and to be accurate, through the throat and to be accurate with that. Was that did you feel like they would suffer more or anything like that because of that position?
It was quick, mate. Honestly, if you had good dogs that weren't trying to tear the head of the pig around constantly on you,
just hold them.
Yeah, you just lift that front leg, you just wheel the front leg back.
Yep.
Yeah, wheel the front leg back, and the spot was right there.
Yeah, gotcha. It's right.
You literally
you see. I understand. Yeah, the positioning of it's pretty much. I mean, they really don't have neck, right?
No,
it's
that's it.
Chin and then chest. Yeah.
So literally, the spot where you stab them in the throat is where you cut the jugular out for boxing. So you had to cut the jugular out and pull that up through when you gutted them.
Yep.
So that wasn't left in there.
And so I was actually talking to Jace Ritchie recently, and he was doing it for a job for boxing pigs.
Yep.
And he said they had to, when he was doing it, they had to do a thorough inspection of the carcass.
Yep.
Things like your liver. I think your liver, your kidneys, and your heart. You had to look over.
Yep.
Did you have to do the same thing?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you had to check it was all good.
You need to leave them attached as well.
Had to be attached. If they weren't attached, it was no good.
Yeah.
It was a rejected pig.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
So that's interesting. And obviously, I think because you hear of so many stories, everyone's thoughts of pigs is that they're dirty creatures and they just need to get rid of.
Yep.
And that people who are eating them over in Europe, they're just getting disease. But obviously, you have a practice that you need to follow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
And so it's pretty interesting. I never knew that all your vitals were still attached. Not all of them, but yeah, obviously that your offal is still attached when you send it off. And it makes sense because they probably resell that as well.
Yeah, they'd resell it, and probably they do their own big checks on all that stuff too. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you'd get them sold, and then you'd get it rejected, and you owed them money. So we used to get
you owed them money.
Well, so what used to happen in the days when I was doing is you'd actually get a check from the bloke who run the chiller.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you'd go box your pigs, you go and take the weights to him, and he'd write you a cash check.
He'd say yes or no,
Yeah,
and then
and
it
then
could
you-
still be rejected.
That's it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you did have to be careful. Like,
You want to be smart about
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, far out.
But it was good because you just grab your check and go straight to the pub and cash it. Like, it was happy days.
Do you miss it? Do you miss like the dogging side of things?
Yes and no, mate. Sometimes I get a little urge, but in the end, I just got sick of losing dogs and vet bills, mate. And then I ended up like my old dog Straubs. He only died this year. He was 8, which was old for a wolfhound.
Yep.
And yeah, no, look, I guess I got a bit softer in my old age too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, something that you've said to me multiple times over the stories you've told me this weekend is that you got sick of seeing dogs go through it as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. You don't like seeing them getting busted up, mate.
No.
Like, yeah.
And obviously the way you trained your dogs, you had good dogs that wouldn't just necessarily get beat up.
No.
But something that you told me was that it was actually the younger boys that did the most damage because of their short, sharp hooks, right?
Yep. The young fighting fellas, the young real fit fellas, them inch-long tusks, they just drive through breastplates, collars, proper just pump through. The more curled ones, like on your big bore, they sort of glance off a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
Like don't get me wrong, they'll still kill dogs. Like, I'm not saying that.
100%. You stab it and it's going to work.
But most of the ones, mate, that we found were these little inch-long, and they just rip dogs to pieces, and especially if they were young, muscly fighting boars, you know.
You said some of them, like, they were sharp enough that you could cut yourself on them.
If you rub your finger down them hard enough, they'll cut you.
Cut you. Yeah, wow.
100%.
It's just crazy to hear that. Like, and it was funny, interesting, like very interesting. This weekend we saw a lot of rub trees, and often we'd see them with the hook marks up pretty high, and obviously them sharpening them.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a bird, right? They sharpen on the wood or whatever.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing with the pigs. Pretty interesting to see.
Yeah. That's how they do it. I don't know whether it's a marking thing too. I'm not sure.
Probably could be potentially. Yeah.
You always sort of see wherever you see the big rub marks up the trees, you'll always find like all the shit and that we found around them areas too. It's like they do all that in the areas they frequent a lot, like their bedding areas and all that sort of stuff.
Their sort of space.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting, right? Like to shit where you sleep.
It is, yeah. It's not what I like to do.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty bizarre thing, but obviously works for them.
Yeah.
Mate, you've just gone through a really interesting process of getting yourself a bow and going through. How many bows did you go through before you bought this one?
3.
Two,
yeah. PSE and a bear I had, yeah.
And you went cheaper and cheaper to start, and then you're like, I just need to bite the bullet and go for it.
Yeah, so when I started this job a couple of years ago, well, I'd listened to your podcast before that. It was when you first ever kicked off, and I was like, I want to get back into this.
Yeah.
I used to do target archery as a kid and hadn't done it for years, and everything had changed when I did get back into it. I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, our gardener actually had a bow for sale, so I brought the PSE.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
And then trying to teach myself how to do all that, dry fired it one day without an arrow in it and wrecked that one. So I brought a bear species, which was a great little bow, and I killed some animals with it.
Yeah.
And I had it for 12 months, and then I was like, I started getting better and better, but I just, like, the shots were always sort of bit off, you know, like not where they should be.
Never pristine.
So, yeah, I got the Bowtech, and that's just changed things completely.
But I want to talk about that whole process because you essentially went in and you said, look, I want to just buy once, cry once, essentially. Like, try get a good old setup.
Yep.
Like, let's just talk through start to finish. What was the process of that?
From the Bowtech or?
Yeah, from the Bowtech, yeah.
So I rang Ian Summers and just got his advice, and he said, oh, how much money do you want to spend? Rah, rah, rah. I was like, look, I just want to get something good. I'm sick of paying twice for all of it. And, he actually set it all up for me and got it.
So he just asked you a few questions about draw length or anything like that?
Yeah. So about the draw length, how much poundage, all that sort of stuff, what I was going to kill, like what my target was and all that sort of stuff. And, we went from there, and then he asked about, what arrow rest, sights, all that stuff. So
did he suggest, like, a few different bows that he thought, or he was like, look, I actually think this will just be the best one for you?
I had a couple in mind, and I ran them by him, and he said both good bows. But for adjustability, he really liked the Bowtech SR350 because of the easy tune on the cams.
Yeah, on the cams, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the one I was favouring. Like I'd watched a heap of videos and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely, yeah.
Like I'm no expert on any of it, that's for sure. But just watched a heap of stuff, and I was like, I really like that bow for its tunability and how easy it was to draw back and hold at full draw wall. Sort of thing. Yeah,
and that obviously showed this weekend when you were at hold for more than a minute. Just sitting there comfortably.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of. I don't know whether it's just because it's a good bow, but it really feels like it floats in your hand when you're at full draw. Like I love that about it. Yeah,
yeah. And like as a whole process to go through and buy a completely brand new bow, like something you'd recommend, something you'd do again, something like did you like going through? It's kind of like Ian's like a. What's it called? Like a freaking broker or something like that, right? Like you go to him, he pretty much just says, this is great.
Yep.
Like, let's go for it.
Well, what my thing was, like, Ian's a professional and he knows his shit, so he's going to have the best advice. Like,
you're not going to go do your own plumbing. Just
exactly
like this
right, mate.
Situation,
like I'm not,
right?
yeah,
you're not
like,
a plumber, so you're not going to do your plumbing.
Like we said today, like I don't know how to rebuild a gearbox, so I'm not going to try and do it. I'm going to send it to someone who knows how to rebuild a gearbox. You know, like you're just going to get that right advice and.
Do it.
And it's worked out great for me.
I mean, the best, and we were both saying this, like, the best thing is being able to take your bow away and just know it just shoots perfectly. Like, having complete confidence in your gear is just such a step up in your hunting.
100%.
Yeah.
And when I started shooting that bow, I still had a not very good release aid, but I was still grouping way better.
100%.
Then I
found the exact same thing with my Elite.
As soon as I upgraded everything up.
Like my groupings at 20 became my groupings at 40.
100%, yeah.
I was just like, wow, like a world of difference. And I knew there was a bit of difference in bow quality, but my bow was tuned in. My Bowtech was tuned in. It was a Bowtech Carbon Icon, like a mid-range bow.
Yep.
Bought it as a pack bow. I was like, yep, this is great. And it did me solid for a good few years.
Yep.
But part of me was just like, you know what, I want to upgrade. I want it to be better. I want it to, and everyone was talking about that same sort of situation. Everything just got tighter and better. I was like, well, that's what I want for my hunting. Like, if I'm going to be hunting, I want to be accurate.
Yeah.
And whether that's me doing 20-meter shots or 40-meter shots, whatever it is, I want to make sure that it's as good as possible.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. When I rocked up there, and he's like, you stepped out of the Mazda straight into the Lamborghini, and like it's not even
pretty much
mate.
like that, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like even holding the thing was like just sensational. And like he decked it out with all the good stuff, like the Trinity bloody rest and all that sort, and the spot hog sight. And
how do you find the single pin? Did you ever have multi-pin?
Yeah, I did, mate. But because like I've told you in the past, I've never been highly confident over 20 yards, and I've 20 metres. I've only just become that since I started this new release aid, actually, and the bow.
Yeah.
But the release aid tightened things up even more.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But I actually took all my pins out of my old sight.
Wow, there you go. So you had a single.
I just had the single pin. Because with that bear species, I knew that from 20 to 0, I just knew where to shoot with that thing. So it didn't matter.
I think it's also a very different game when you're shooting pigs. The fact that the pigs, like, they are so sturdy. And shooting through them, like getting a good shot on a pig, obviously you can always shoot vital, that's fine.
Yeah.
But getting good penetration through a pig is a hard thing to do, even up close, right?
Yeah, 100. I was surprised by the 2 shots I've done this weekend. Like, that one this morning.
Today,
I thought that would have just blew straight through that thing. Like,
because, 12 metres maybe?
Yeah, 15 at the most, I reckon, mate. Yeah.
And, you end up with a broken arrow.
Broken arrow out of it.
We couldn't find your freaking broadhead.
Found the rest of the arrow, but seems to be my story lately.
Expensive hobby.
It is very.
I just think it's an interesting process, like to be able to go through. I mean, obviously, we're just talking about being able to punch through pigs, and that's the main thing you hunt. So that's why it's pretty important. Like a lot of your shots are under 20 meters, and that's why it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's very not that I necessarily take a lot of shots at 30 or 40 meters, but I like having that option with my pins because I've got the 3-pin slider. So I've got 20, 30, 40 always set. And if I want to, I can slide my bottom pin. So I slide the whole sight, but my bottom pin becomes my 50 or my 60 if I slide it up. And I love that.
not that I ever take 50 or 60 meter shots, but I
Yep.
love having that option. I like it that I've got my 20, 30, 40 because at times I've had a shot at 20 meters that doesn't, not that I've actually taken the shot, but like my fallow deer, for instance.
Yep.
He was at 20 meters, he ran out to 40 and stopped. And I was like, that's 40, bang.
Yeah,
And got him.
You
because
know,
of it.
you know it. Yeah.
Whereas with that single pin, you don't have that option, right? And
No.
that's what kind of scares me about something like that, I guess.
It is. That's dead right. But what was going on with me? Why I just removed all the pins off the site beside one?
Yeah.
Was because sometimes in the heat of the moment you're putting the wrong pin on.
Yeah, got you. Just
Yeah, so that's
clouded
just
and
probably
go.
my greenness of the sport too.
yeah,
But,
yeah, got you.
but the other thing now, what I have to do is if I do want to go over 20, is to remember to make sure that sight is on set on the 20 mark. Like,
You found it pretty interesting today, right?
well, when it
Walking
moved in
through
the bow,
bushes
and moved in the bow case on the way up to the paddock, and it was moved down to the 30 metre mark or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you said even further.
Well, you said to me, is that your 20 mark? And I'm like, no, that's not. Like, yeah, lucky.
I actually feel like that could have been him just walking to the
Could
trees
well
and
be,
shit
mate,
today,
just
dude.
turning that dial. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty intense stuff we were walking through, yeah.
Pretty interesting setup on the spot hog. Like it's almost like maybe like a handbrake, right? Like you got a handbrake, you knock back, and then you just twist it, and you're good to go.
So it works two ways. While it's in the locked position, you only turn that dial at the bottom, but when you click it
You
back,
can click it back like
you can
almost
wind
like a
it
gearbox.
fast
Yeah, and just goes.
and just drop it right in, yeah.
Yeah, I obviously the hard thing about a slider, and I've done it many times, is that when you shoot your like if you go for the longer distance,
Yep.
you need to remember to drop it back.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I've gone and taken 20-meter shots and just
Yeah,
over the top.
yeah.
You're like, what happened
That's
there?
right,
You
yeah.
look at it set at 60, you're like, oh, that's what happened, you idiot.
The other thing I've realised with the new bow is that it's not the same as the Bear, where 20 and 5 are the same spot on the.
Yeah, that's right. You were saying to me,
Yeah,
you
like
took an early shot.
Yep, shot high and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a little bit
close.
different,
You got
but
to
it does.
adjust for that difference.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's probably like it might be that 15 to 25 are literally the exact same pin, essentially.
Yeah, that's right.
But
It's
then
funny
it's like
how
anything under just could be shorter or higher.
Yeah, and it's funny how it works on the site. Like, I guess it's all to do with how like the flight of your arrow and all that. But, in a straight thinking mind, you think, rightio, the difference between the mark of the 10, the 20, and the 30 and the 40 is going to be the same distance down, but it's definitely
just
not
not.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
And
well off that.
It really
The longer you
each
go, the
one
more
it
you
drops
move.
more
Yeah,
and more.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The bigger your spacings get. The biggest one for me, like my 40 to 50 is decent, but my 50 to 60 is huge. Like it's a big drop. It's like obviously just that arc just changes so much.
I haven't shot at anything over 40. I've been practicing at 40 before this trip.
Yep.
Not that I'd take a
Took that.
40, but
No.
just to practice.
Yeah.
But I got confident at 30. But one thing I noticed at 40, like you'd nearly take the shot and just still watching your arrow, like sort of
arc.
Going into the target. Yeah,
It was pretty funny. I took a 45-minute shot this weekend, and it was on a small pig. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And it was in open country, so there's no way I was getting close to it. And luckily, I shot underneath it, and it ran right into the position I needed it to be able to get up really, really close to it. I was 20 meters off of it, and then I got my second shot. And it's been a fun weekend, but to be honest, we came into it, I think, like we were saying before, came in a bit cocky.
Too cocky.
Yeah.
Way too cocky.
And
especially after shooting pigs in our first era of hunting on the first night.
Well, that's the thing is like we were set up for it again.
Yeah.
Like we came in and all of our expectations were filled pretty much to
that's
start
right.
with.
Yeah, that's right.
And the next morning we kind of went out and it was interesting because we went and did, I think, all the right things to some extent. The only wrong thing we did is that we didn't go up on top of that hill.
Yeah.
Like we were the top of the thick stuff, but we weren't on top of the flat.
The flat, yeah.
And you said to me a few times, and it was just the wind that was mucking with us.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, do we, don't we, do we, don't we? And we decided not to in the end, and we walked along the fence line, and then all of a sudden we saw probably 60-odd pigs,
Yeah,
right? And
it
they winded us, and they did a big old
They
loop
pumped
around
it,
us.
yeah.
And
we never
skittish.
seen them on that flat again.
The whole weekend we haven't seen them.
Yeah.
And like I've seen animals move off because of wind, but they were intense,
Oh,
right?
man, this was out of control. Like, we've spoken about it all weekend. I've never seen pigs so flighty, like, and they're not hunted. It's got to be dingo pressure or dog pressure or something. I don't know.
It's the only thing I can think. Or they remember your pig mate, the pig hunter from here, like whenever he's come.
Oh, yeah, mate. He doesn't
But I mean, he's got a
that
cage
way.
up, and that's the thing, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It was weird, mate. They were so flighty. They were so aware. Like, it's crazy.
And then every time we actually caught them on the flats, the exact same thing.
Yep.
And like I've bumped pigs before when they don't wind you and they move off for 20 meters and then they come back out, or they'll slow down and they're good again. These pigs were like, we bumped them and they were gone. Like, out of sight, never again. Yep.
Yeah, just sneak away into the bushes.
And I mean, it didn't help all week. Pretty much the last 2 days we've dealt with extreme winds, right?
I've never had wind like it. It's so frustrating for me.
I mean, to explain the block that we're hunting, it's pretty much like a big bowl, and where we started hunting was all up on the ridges and mountains around it, versus into the depths of the bowl. It was actually last night I was messaging with Grant, and he's like, Grant Rand, and he's like, mate, just get down to the depths. Like, if it's windy and cold, get down low. You're going to find them down there. And it was kind of like I'd said it to you a few times where I was like, I think we need to burrow down.
Yep, and we did.
But it was thick. It was thick, right? We're like, heck, it's going to be hard going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to pause it so I can get a drink. Give me a sec. Anyway, so not that I'm fucking a wind expert at all, but I turned to you at one point today. I said, do you reckon it's 20 knots? And after saying that, and you're like, dude, definitely. I was like, it's actually probably a lot more. Like,
I reckon that too. Like, up when we were up high, that was just pumping that wind.
Dude.
Like, that was crazy.
And so cold.
It was an icy breeze.
Yeah, it just hammer through you. Like that wind that literally just tears through you.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff it was.
Yeah, as soon as you stop, like we stopped to have a smoko this morning and
on the rocks.
Got pretty cold pretty quick, didn't we?
We were in direct sunlight and just freezing.
Yeah. But it was pretty howling then.
I actually, we haven't had reception pretty much all weekend. It was nice. We were up on the hill there, and it was nice to jump on Instagram. First of all, see a whole heap of people just wish me luck.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really cool. So thank you to anyone who did that. But the second thing that actually kind of pumped us all back up again was seeing that James Doomstis is over in America and he got his first elk down.
Yeah,
that was
cool.
like, okay, we got to get out after this. Like, let's get back into it.
It'd give us another drive, didn't it? And then we got our pig after that too.
Yeah, and I think realistically we were pretty defeated with the purpose.
Yeah.
Like we had hunted hard already, but we just hadn't really got onto them. I mean, we did all right. Like I shot that little sow yesterday. We were in amongst them yesterday. Like we're in amongst this blackberry bush, like a whole heap of blackberry bushes. And we had, I think there was one boar, 2 sows, and a heap of suckers.
Yep, heaps of eyes.
And we were just manoeuvring in amongst them. And we saw this one sow, and she didn't look very good.
Yep.
And I wanted to get some pork. I'm like, look, I'd love to get some pork this weekend.
Yep.
That's the goal. Shoot some good pigs, but also I'd love to walk away with some wild pork. And we saw her, and I was like, no, she's like, you actually said, dude, don't shoot her. She looks a bit
holler.
Yeah,
holler
a bit
in the
slack
back
in the
end.
back end. And I was like, yeah, you're right. She's actually not the good one. And so I had perfect sight on this pig, and I realized it was a boar. And knowing what I know now, I would have shot him. But
100%, yeah.
But I was like, nah, I'll leave him because he's a boar. I'll let him go on. Like he's probably, you don't want a boar because they're ruddy tasting, right? They're going to be horrible.
But when he ran off, he was a nice fat boar.
He was
a cracker.
Real fat. And I just didn't have it. He was right next to the sow, but there's just blackberry bushes, and the blackberry bushes, they're almost like a vine, right? They just overhang, they dangle, and I pretty much had 2 complete strands that were right on vitals.
Yep.
But taking the shot just wouldn't have worked.
Nah.
Like, it would have just stuffed me up all day long.
It's just that country too, like they're everywhere. They're the worst ones, I reckon, are the ones that trip you on the ground, that are locked into the ground, man.
Annoying,
like,
bro. They catch your foot and they get you good. You
Especially
think you're doing
walking
so
up them
well.
steep hills.
It's just that last little, it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back, right?
Yeah.
Your frustration's there, and then that happens. You're like,
yeah.
But yeah, so I essentially tried to find a new alley to be able to shoot this sow. And as I started walking up, this sow walks in front of me. I'm like, oh, I'm like, she's small, but I'll give her a shot. I'm like, heck, I don't really have much other choice because the wind's either going to get her and potentially blow them all, or like I didn't really know my options. And so she turned broadside, gave me a perfect shot.
Yep.
And she died within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
She walked 2 steps, and the blood that spurted, I was like, wow, that's impressive.
She's gone.
And she knocked over, and I heard her die right there. But all the other pigs, as soon as that shot, once again.
Oh, mate, yeah.
She gave a little.
Yeah.
It wasn't much, and they took off.
And they weren't even near her, and I was ready to. I was getting ready to shoot. Like one shoot, because I was watching the pigs from an angle
which
you
is
couldn't
highly
see.
possible with most pigs, right?
Oh,
I've seen
100%.
that 100.
Yeah. Like sometimes back home, like I can shoot one, and even when I shot that, like the good ball, the other fellas hung around, man.
Right
like,
there, yeah.
And he was just, it blew my mind how
I literally shot
flighty they
3
were.
pigs in the one pack once.
Yeah,
right
like,
there.
that's what I mean.
All in the same location. I did not move.
Yeah.
I shot 3 pigs. They ran up and came back and ran around and whatever. But they didn't take off like that.
And that's what we thought would happen this weekend, I think, and that's what threw us so much.
Dude, 100%. But yeah, we end up, we started cutting on her, and I was like, there's really not much to her, dude. And then I kept cutting away anyway. I didn't really pay much attention. And then I looked at her a little bit closer. I'm like, she is littered. Like she had ticks, she had fleas, and she literally
eggs everywhere.
It was almost eggs head to toe, like every bit of her. I just said, dude, I'm done. Like, no, I'm not taking that.
If she was a fat pig, she would have been absolutely perfect. But she was just
and it was it. So to go back on the story, that was the hollow ended one.
Yep.
I just didn't realize because where I'd maneuvered was well away from her, and she had just walked around the top and tucked back in. So
it's incredible how they sneak about in them blackberries, isn't it? Like they just turn up. They just don't even know they're there.
I mean, I thought I was being sneaky, but geez, she got in there. I tell you what. But the crazy thing about where we are is the amount of water that the ground holds, right?
Well, there's like. Yeah, it's the amount of water the ground holds, but also in that section where we are, there's like 3 different creeks like that run down. Like 3 different valleys.
It's all from springs, right? Just off of the mountain.
Yep.
Like there's parts of this mountain where you stand on it. It's literally like jelly, right? Like you step on these tufts of grass, and you almost bounce off them. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you don't know where you got to safe foot. That's for sure. Like.
Tell you what, the first day I went out in my gum boots, and you went out. What were you in? Just boots, regular boots.
Yeah,
right?
just me short Ariat.
I felt bad for you, dude. You're freaking almost shin deep in everything. I was like,
yeah, but I knew it was going to happen, so it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
You get your feet wet once, they're just wet, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and so I mean. I'm glad they wore the gumboots for the first few days, but when I changed back to the volleys, I was so glad that I did that too because we were up and down the hills then.
Yeah, I wasn't glad because it turned into some sort of speed monster up them hills, mate. When you're in the gumbies, I could keep up with you, not only because I could see you, but I could hear you really well.
And that's the other thing to them, right? They're so stealthy.
Yeah, that's right.
But we pretty much talked to Grant and we're like, okay, we need to get into the depths of it.
So we did, but we went too low the first time, didn't we?
This valley, right, it's probably, a kilometre across as the bird flies, as crow flies?
Yeah, I'd reckon so, mate, yeah.
Like 800 to a K.
Yep.
Versus you drop down, you've probably got a K each side down. Right?
Oh, yeah, it's
like...
The paddock's only about 90 hectares all up, but if you flatten it out, it's a lot more than that
there's
because
just
of
so
what
much
you
huntable
do.
country.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's always the way with big hills. You just get your gullies and your systems that you can go and flow through, and essentially it just becomes so much huntable land.
Oh, yeah.
Like we got a good understanding of the block this weekend, but we know nothing about it. Like,
no.
We could be, like, we still found spaces today and would find spaces. If we came here for the next... I don't know. If we gave me 5 weekends in a row, we'd still find places, right? Like,
and I'd only been around like I think 3 times just with Jack checking the trail cams and stuff like that. So I'd been on the parks, the paths you can get a buggy to, not where you can't
see,
get in, which is where we've been. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, even that track we found down the middle, the buggy wouldn't even drive up that. Like,
100%. It's so steep.
Oh, it's ridiculous,
It's
mate.
literally like just a big clearing of this is essentially where a doze is just driven straight through the middle.
Yeah,
right?
mate. It must have something to do with the fires, yeah.
Yeah, actually, that was a fair chunk about this whole block, right? This block went up in 2019, maybe?
Yeah, around that time, mate. I'm not 100% sure, but It was just before I come, so I come in 2020.
Yeah, so it was before the big fires
Yep.
that we had. It was a stoner next door.
Yeah,
Essentially, right?
Apparently, that's what I've heard, mate. Burning off around his wani crop and things got hectic.
Poor fella.
Yeah.
A good way to get caught out, hey?
Yeah, he lost the lot.
Well, at least he had maybe fun doing it. Who knows?
Yeah, he got
I'm
upwind
sure.
from it and had a party.
I'm sure there wasn't much fun had.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, and so like, there's a lot of what do you call them? Breaks,
fire breaks.
fire
yeah,
breaks.
done
Yeah,
by
a
the
lot of
dozer,
fire
yep,
breaks
yep.
done throughout the block, and some of them you just see immense amount of diggings.
Oh, mate, I've never seen so much digging. That's
Dude, diggings are crazy.
yeah,
here.
fresh and old, like a lot of old ones. But
Yeah.
geez, it's everywhere you walk, there was some sort of digging, wasn't there?
And that was the most baffling thing for us all weekend because we're like, look, there's diggings, there's new sign, there's old sign,
Yeah, where
there's
are
fresh
they?
poo, there's no poo, old poo, and
Yeah.
where are they? They're
Yeah.
just tucked away. And so we started maneuvering through the thick stuff.
Yeah.
And it got really interesting, right? Really quickly.
Yeah, straight up.
Straight
Yeah.
up. As soon as we got into it, we started seeing little legs and whatever. But it's like the hard thing is obviously it's so thick, and then all of a sudden you have a little opening that's
Yep.
so thick.
Yep.
But I mean, it was pretty much this morning we went down to the thick stuff, right? It all blurs into one.
We
right?
accidentally found our grain pile again. That's what we done, and that's where
Yeah,
the pigs
that's
were
where they
standing
all
on it.
were.
Were you seeing just the hind
Just the
quarter of that
hindquarter
little
one.
sow? Yeah.
You know what? The other thing that we should mention about this place is it's littered with kangaroos, right?
Oh.
Like everywhere you go, we've seen more kangaroos than we have pigs this weekend, and that's saying
mate,
something,
we've
right?
seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kangaroos, like ridiculous.
It's and that was the other thing actually. So this morning we went and did the flats. We're like, okay, we'll get up on top, we'll walk around the hills, we'll see the flats and see if all the pigs are out there like they were yesterday morning. When we got up on top, there was nothing, no sign apart from 100 million kangaroos.
Yeah, and then the 100 million kangaroos were also everywhere else we went to.
Exactly. And then we essentially maneuvered our way around and we were walking. We were like, okay, we just got to go down to the depths. We pretty much got as far as we could before we could get into the depths. And there was one last little paddock and then we saw the pigs.
Yep.
But they were covered in kangaroos.
Yep.
And so we started to make our move down. I was like, hopefully these kangaroos bounce off without bugging the pigs. And we got probably 50 meters and some of the kangaroos started moving. Pigs didn't matter. Like, they didn't matter. They were like, whatever.
No, it didn't bother them like I thought.
And then we got closer and they scammed. Like as soon as the kangaroos ran, every
Yeah.
pig left that block.
There was about 3 kangaroos left there, and once they left, the pigs were like,
Just
righto,
doing something
something's
up.
going on now.
And that's just like, once again, how skittish they actually were
Yeah.
all weekend.
Yeah.
But what was cool is that they just stayed there. They just stayed on the edges. They were like, you know what?
They were keen to come back and
They
eat.
were. They were
Yeah.
obviously happy on that side.
Smaller pigs like that. Yeah, they weren't big
weren't
smart
huge.
boars.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah.
We pretty much like after we put down those big pigs, I think in my head, and I don't know where you were at as well, I was like, if we see a big boar, we're going for it. But
100%,
otherwise, I want
yep.
to target the pack ones because I was always keen to come and get some pork, right?
Well, I was in the same boat, Matty, because we both had a good shot on the first night and got
Yeah,
our
stellar.
2 decent boars. Not,
Yep.
probably not the monsters that we were hoping for, but they're still good
Still
fellas.
good,
And
yeah.
I just wanted you to get something for the freezer. That was the main thing, and
Yeah.
and we done it in the end.
did.
So that's
Got
the,
lucky.
Yeah, that's the good thing. Yeah.
It, at least it felt like it was lucky because I don't know, like it's hard to explain, but we walked. I don't know. We're trying to figure it out. Yesterday we did over 30,000 steps. Today we did over 25,000 steps. Like just
Yeah.
maneuvering around. So I don't know, depending on what you want to count that as, but I'd say at least 15, 20K a day.
A lot of kilometres.
Up and down these
not
hills.
not on the flats, like
No, yeah, and like even when we were keeping to the flats, there's still a lot of hills you have to get through
Yeah,
to get to the
they're
flats. It's
rolling
up
hills,
and down,
yeah.
exactly. But yeah, today once we kind of got down into the depths of it, well, it was almost lucky that I saw those pigs. I reckon.
Oh, it was, mate,
It
because I did not see a thing. It
And
was,
just-
and you were just like,
I
oh.
just literally saw one pig run into the bush. I'm like, something there, let's go. I'm like,
Yeah.
we're on. And then we just got into the masses. They were
Yeah.
just there. Not masses. There was probably, 30, 20?
Yeah, I still don't reckon it was that full big mob.
Oh,
Like,
no, 100% no.
but definitely there was some bigger, better pigs in there. That's for sure.
It's pretty interesting because obviously they're somewhat of a pack animal, right? But we had that big mob, huge mob. Like that was 60 odd pigs, right? That
Yeah.
ran back through
Oh,
the fences.
easy, mate. Yeah.
But as soon as
as soon as we're in that thick stuff, there was no mobs at 60. That's for sure.
Nah, and that's what kept blowing my mind. I'm like, and like the big sign wasn't there. Like there was no big pads. There was no big bedding areas. Like we didn't find them. Whether we just weren't quite in their right bedding area, I don't know. But
I think we came across scatters of them.
We did,
and I think it was more so the fact that when they're in the thick, they just don't care. They break up. Must be the way, right?
Scatter about, yeah.
And,
like we definitely come across bedding areas. Like,
100%. Yeah. Lots of sign, lots of shit, lots of But
obviously the big boys, they're not going to hang around with the mob pigs. No. Like they're going to. Once their shagging's done, they're going to go up and have a camp away.
Smart, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, even it was pretty interesting today. Even when we found that big mob, they were on the old grain pile, and there wasn't much grain there. Literally next to nothing.
Like a couple of kilos left. Yeah, there's nothing.
I wouldn't even call it a couple of kilos.
Yeah, it was a few grains, wasn't it? Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
a few chickpeas you'd left out there, essentially.
Yeah.
And so there was it was pretty much a set, 2 sows and a few suckers, right, going into it. And we're looking at them, and there were some big pigs behind them, behind this log. I'm like, what are they doing? And then they kind of took off a bit, and then you're like, Matty, look over here. And to the left, on top of the hill, looking down on the sow and the piglets, were 2 big boars, right?
You reckon we didn't see them boars again, but did we?
You know what? I think I might have after you took the shot.
Yeah,
I feel like, because...
Not the fellow that ran back up, but...
You know what? It could have been him, because he was... It was either, you know what? It could have been the big hairy bristly fellow I was talking about. So what happened is essentially the winds were swirling at this point. We're like, we're just going to have to make a move. And we started walking down, and there was no actual swirl of wind, but the pigs just took off all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the heck? Like, we didn't make any noise.
And we were well off them then, too.
Yeah,
like
we were good, probably 50 metres off them still.
Yeah.
And the only thing we kind of came to is that the pack had maybe separated so much that they just wanted to catch up to each other again.
That's,
And so
we'd lost the big boars, so
Exactly, and I think maybe they walked off, and that's then go time for everyone. Maybe they're protectors. Who knows? But yeah, they only ran 50 metres down the hill.
That's it, yeah.
And then kind of pulled up, and so we pretty much just followed them up and got down to them, and they were right there. They were just manoeuvring through the grass and just doing their thing, eating and stuff.
Having a chew,
And we kept walking up on them. Pretty much where we got to start with, it was just all the suckers. And we were once again trying to get some meat by the stage. We're like, okay, we've got to do something different. And all the suckers are right there. I'm like, God damn it. And so we maneuvered a little bit to the left. And we were just so lucky we came onto this. It was just enough of an opening, right? So when I say we're maneuvered, we're literally walking through bushes every meter, right? It's like essentially thick stuff like that. Like
very hard to be quiet. Like
exactly. And these bushes, I tell you what, they're the worst freaking bushes.
You'll be happy you never see them again.
Little prickly suckers. I've got so many splinters.
Mate,
like,
I don't even know what they're called.
Me either. They're just little prickly. And like, so the bush itself is prickly as you walk by it. And I'm looking at my pointer finger right now. I've got 5 different freaking splinters I'm going to need to dig out at some point.
Oh, mate, we'll have to start charging you for taking wood home.
Apparently so, dude. I think you can soak your hands and they might pop out, but Jesus, it's just,
I don't know what they are. I've never come across that tree before, but it's everywhere.
Spiky little bush, small green leaves.
It's like it's a small box lawn, but yeah, I don't know.
I've seen them in northern New South Wales before, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, they just, and you can't walk through without getting stuck.
No.
Like,
in the end, I was just like putting a bow in front of me and just driving through. Like,
it's like you're going to cop it in the legs, you're going to cop it in your arms, just go.
Just
it's the best way. Because otherwise you won't get through it.
Right? You could sit there and try and pick them out finger by finger. But
jeez. And even you try to grab the bush to maneuver it, and the bristles are so small on some of them, they just get you anyway. Yeah. You're like, no, that was worse.
Yeah. But the blackberries were hectic too. They're sharp little thorns on them things, eh?
It's
terrible.
You asked me, like, have you ever seen the wait a while? And I said, yeah, we've got some on the Gympie block that I hunt. But you know what? I'd take wait a while over what we went through this weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially the mass of it. Like, it was everywhere we went. Like, it was like a tea tree, but with thorns. That's what it was.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
how I describe it. Tea tree 100%. With thorns. Yeah.
But anyway, so we're maneuvering through these friggin' meter apart, and we get into this part, and there's just a bit of a clearing, and I know what we see, maybe 4 or 5 shooter pigs, right?
Yeah, when we come through the clearing there.
And it was up to your shot. So you drew back, and I'm like, you know what, we're going to party shoot this. Yep. So I drew back.
You're ready to go. And then I looked at you drawing back. I was like, we're going to shoot the same pig. So I actually changed pigs. And
I saw you manoeuvring. I was like, okay, maybe he just didn't have a clean shot on the first one. And I was like, do I pull the trigger? I'm like, no, it's Matt's shot. Just wait.
You done well, mate.
Yeah, I
didn't care. I just thought you were going to nail one, and I was going to nail one too.
I had a great shot, and then I was like, just wait. You take your shot, then I'll take mine.
Yep.
And pretty much, I was like waiting for the. And as soon as I heard the tunk, I took my shot, and these pigs are so skittish.
Oh, yeah.
It jumped and manoeuvred that string. There was no touching
That's
that
crazy, because, like you said, we're only at 15 metres, eh?
Actually, it was a little sound. She just jumped. Gone.
And you, like, I heard your shot.
It was so close, right?
So close. Like, I reckon my arrow had only just hit, and you were, you sent yours away.
Dude, it was, it just baffles me. It really does.
I've never seen pigs so, we've spoke about it all weekend.
We have just how much they jump. And,
back home, anyway, it's bloody crazy.
It's got us all weekend.
Yeah.
And that's why we think it must be dog pressure. It's, unless you've got poachers here, which I don't think you do, because you've got cameras up and they've not seen anything.
No, and there's no tracks, man. There's no ute tracks. There's no foot tracks. There's no dog.
Exactly right.
It's just got to be wild dog pressure. That's all it's got to be.
Yeah. And so we end up getting. You thought you shot us out first, and literally you hit it, and this big boar ran straight at us, dude.
Crazy.
He pulled it up at 6 meters, maybe.
Yep.
He ran straight up.
We didn't see him, but he come up over the hill, wondering what was going on.
Essentially where we were was a bit of a flat, and just below it was another little,
plateau.
Deck, a little plateau apart, and we had 4 or 5 in front of us, a heap of suckers off to the right, and then down below us were a few of the big boys, I think. And he must have been like the king, the pack leader.
Yeah, because
he ran up and he was ready to fight. But because we'd just both let off the arrows, we both trying to shoot, trying to reload.
And he took off.
He took off pretty quickly. He was looking straight at me. He knew. Yeah. He was like, that's something weird. And then took off.
Something going on there. The other fellow, I reckon the other one was a better one, big, hairy fella.
Behind. He stayed back a bit. This one was probably young and dumb, and he was the actual smart, wise.
Yeah, I don't know, mate.
Boy.
He was just a different pig. He was like a real light white colour, and he just real bristled up in the front, sort of pretty fighting looking pig,
chunky.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting. So then this is the first time they actually didn't mosey off that fast.
No, you walked after him for ages. Yeah,
and I think it might have been maybe because they never got our actual wind.
Yeah.
That's what it's got to come down to.
The way the wind was going.
It was swirling so much already. But they pretty much stuck to this one level and it just went through, and it's thick, but every once in a while you'd get a clearing and you'd be able to see them. And so I was just moseying through, kind of just above them, almost on a steady Terminator walk. I'm like, all right, here we go. We're going to get another one down here. But it's every time I just catch up to them, they were just aware enough that it would move them on again. But they never ran off. They never really got a fast trot. They probably moved 100 meters up and then stopped and started feeding again.
Yeah, right.
I was like, wow, it's just so odd.
Maybe they felt heaps safer down in that.
I think they do, just how thick it is, right? As soon as they were up on that flats the first day and they winded us, they belted for that stuff. Yeah. And as soon as they're in the thick stuff, I think they just slow down. They're like, okay, this is our safe place.
Yeah. I think I said to you today, if you had dogs, if I had dogs now, you get dogs going really good in that country, but you'd also lose a lot of pigs. That's hard country for dogs to hunt. Your dogs 100%. Have to be fit dogs, and you'd want to be just as fit because
just that tunneling, dude, is everywhere.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to leave your dogs up in there because you get onto them big pigs up there, and they're just going to bash your dogs up there, eh?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You said, pretty much, if a pig ever gets cornered, it's the worst for a dog.
Oh, 100%, mate. They just got all the action,
the ability to be able to.
They can just
you want your dog to be able to turn so the other dog can go and grab its ear or something.
Yeah, if you can get the dog always comes in, they'll get them to spin, see, and then they can come in on the other side and just bang them. If the pig's front on and it can fight the dogs without them getting behind them, it'll just keep throwing them dogs all day long. Yeah, just pump them.
It's crazy. I've never really seen it much before, but Instagram obviously shows you so much, and I think it's following the full upper page, and they showed just recently, it was I think it's a reel they did up of just dogs getting flown in the air.
Oh, yeah,
and
man.
they just, boom, they literally get, I don't know, a couple meters distance.
Yep.
Just throw them from a freaking pig.
Yeah, they're up north, them fellas, aren't they?
The guy who actually runs the page is in Brisbane.
Yeah, right.
but I don't know about, like, I think they just get footage from everyone all over Australia.
It's
sort of
just
thing.
sent into
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Right, yeah.
But
Yeah.
like before that, I'd never really seen it. But in this stuff, so what's the difference? Is it because it's so thick that they would be able to do the exact same thing?
Well, they just escape a lot more. So you would have seen, like, when them pigs pumped through that fence, and then when they really winded us that morning, how fast they hit that fence.
Yeah.
And that fence didn't bother them.
No.
And so that's where they've got the advantage in that really thick, tucked up scrub. Like their tunnels, they know where their tunnels
just
are.
go, it's their highway.
And they just hit them. The dogs
Yeah.
don't know that. So a dog running through there, even in the daylight, let alone the dark,
They're
they don't
having
know
to
where
twist
to
and
go,
turn
mate.
and
Like,
do
but
bits
the
and
ball,
pieces.
he's just going to pump it through.
Yeah, got you.
So if they don't escape, they're just going to go to a spot where they know where they can fight, and they're going to fight.
Yeah, okay.
But like the pigs change in the country, so some pigs will just turn around and fight. Like you get flat country pigs,
Yeah.
they won't even try and run, mate. They will just turn if they know a dog's up them. They'll just turn on the flat and say, "Come and get me."
It's probably like, I guess, if they've got an actual wild dog after them,
Yeah,
there's
mate,
a fair chance
yeah.
they can knock them off.
That's right. Yeah, they'll try and fight. Yeah, if they think they got half a chance, they'll just do it.
I mean, that was the other thought that I had, is that this block actually it sidelines the forestry part. And I thought that maybe because of the forestry, maybe they had a lot of hunting pressure, but it's actually not a huntable forestry, right?
No, not what I've heard, mate. No,
And so we're like, well, it has to be dogs. Like, that's
Yeah.
all we can put it down to.
but who knows what would come out of that timber, Matty? Like,
Yeah, true.
it's pretty intense down there.
Old Yetis and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yetis carrying Yetis. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I got a Yeti, a big old Esky. I was very excited
It's
by
a
that thing,
stonker too.
dude. It is. It's a big one, and I've never been more excited to buy something in my. Not, I wouldn't say more excited to buy something in my life, but never been more excited to buy an Esky in my life.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I was at one point this weekend where we were just, I don't know, twiddling our fingers and getting about. Like, it just seemed like nothing was coming together. I was like, I'm not even going to get to use my freaking Yeti. Like, what the heck's going on? But anyway, you shot this ball. And after I went for my little mosey after the pigs, it got to one point, I was like, look, there's no point, just keep pressuring. I'm going to come back and find you. And on my way back, I found my arrow.
Oh man, he hasn't lost an arrow, this man, all weekend.
It was literally like down on the next bank and
Yeah,
buried
30
into the
metres
grass.
away.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, how perfect. I was trying to find you. I couldn't find you. I'm whistling out to you and stuff. And then I was like, oh, I don't know if the pig would have gone this far. I think I walked like another 5 steps, and then a pig jumped out of the bushes right where we were. Like, you were within 10 metres, 20 metres of that. And it just hopped up and fucking ran.
Yeah, I'd heard your footsteps, so I looked around for you, and I couldn't see you. Obviously, you're in camo gear. And
Works well.
It does work well. And then I was still trying to look for me broadhead near where the pig was, and then like the dead pig, because my arrow broke. So I was like, right, my broadhead's got to be here somewhere. And then, another, and it was a good pig too, just run up about 10 metres away from me. And then you come up the other way. I was like, oh, yeah, right, Matty's place. Well, you scared the shit out of me. I didn't hear you coming.
Didn't hear me. I was whistling just on the little bird whistles, and you never
never heard it. No.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I got the good sow.
Oh, yeah. Here's me, the old boar hunter.
And sure enough, he's got balls and a knob. So we quickly chopped that off, and then he was just perfect size, dude. And we looked at him; he would have been no more than a year.
Oh, mate, beautiful, beautiful pig. Yeah,
but he chunked on so well.
Yep.
And so we quickly checked cut off his nuts and checked his vitals, and he
perfect
was
vitals.
clean.
You said they were perfect,
dude. He was so clean.
The meat was so good when we tripped him down, man. It was perfect, mate.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So we carried him up the hill. We got him back. There's a bit of a to and fro. We got here eventually, got him up, and we hung him in the shed here and skinned him back and.
Perfect, mate.
Amazing.
Yep.
Incredible quality, right?
Yeah, we've done plenty of home killed pork, man, and even though this one didn't have the skin on it like you usually score them, this was just immaculate, mate.
And so you haven't really done much hunting and cooking.
Nothing, mate. Nothing. I've never ever shot something and killed it. And cooked it. I mean,
cooked it, yeah.
Yeah,
so
this is the first time, yeah.
I was so keen when you said, "Oh, we should try something." I was like, "Oh, yeah!" I jumped on it straight away. I'm like, "Of course!" And you're like, "Oh no, you're going to get it for your family." I'm like, "No, we're doing this."
Yeah, we had a backstrap.
So we cut the backstrap, and it was actually so tasty,
oh,
dude.
mate, the best wraps I've ever had, man. It was so good, yeah.
Yeah, we just put it in some wraps, and it
Oh, dude, it was
Done her on
we
the
did have
open coal,
fire,
yeah.
and that makes a big difference,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to actually. I love that experience of being able to hunt something and cook it in the same day.
Yeah, oh yeah, terrific. And like I said to you once, like when we got it down, I was like, man, next time I go boar hunting at home, I'm looking for fat sows. Like,
exactly.
I'm gonna do this. Like,
That's what we're chasing all weekend. We end up with a boar anyway. But
Yeah,
well, I think it just shows, right, the young boars and like to see how tasty he actually is.
there was no wild gameness to it at all, Matty.
at all.
Like, not
at all.
one scary
And it's
wild
funny,
game.
It's funny. Everyone that I ever talk to about wild pigs that actually eats the wild pigs, they say I love wild pig more than I like the store bought pigs. It's always the way.
Yeah. I totally agree. Like it's like we had to cook it well, obviously, but it was so
100%.
tender still. Like it was so tender meat. Eh?
Yeah.
I know it's a backstrap; it's the best stuff, but
Yeah, but I think it just shows that it's very obviously circumstances dependent. It's very doable.
Oh,
It
yeah.
can work out so well. Like I wouldn't go off hunting in far north Queensland and expect to be able to eat those pigs, right?
No, definitely not.
It's very different situations where we know, like we've literally stomped around this yard for the last 3-4 days and
Yeah.
know that there's not much, there's no dead sign
No,
around.
it's not, mate. Yeah,
There's a lot of rooting. They've
Yeah.
pretty much eaten vegetation, and that's how they've
That's
grown.
it, yeah.
And with him being so young, like he barely even had hooks coming through, right? They would
yeah,
have been,
still had his baby teeth. Yeah,
I don't know, 3 centimeters each.
Yeah.
like they're small.
if that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So-
when her dropped, I was like,
Using your pronouns
oh,
right.
mate, I can't believe I still thought it was a sow until you tell, oh, it's a boar. I was like, oh, shit, it is too.
Transitioning, hey?
Well, I just looked at her, and I was like, wow, that is the
sound.
perfect size. Like it wasn't too fat, it wasn't too lean.
Yeah.
Everything was perfect. Like it's just
Definitely.
like if you were breeding them up,
That's what you want.
that's exactly how you want them.
It's actually funny because we've seen multiple sows this weekend that are just that small.
Yeah.
Like obviously they
Outcast
mated as
sows,
soon as
yeah.
they could and dropped a litter. There was one sow we saw in the same place every time this weekend.
Yeah.
She was just
She was a terrible looking little thing.
horrible, and she was so small. Like we saw her from a distance away, and we're like, oh, it must be like a decent sized pig. And we got up close, and she was so small. And then her little suckers are just bleeding her dry.
taking it out of her. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
they're like, she'll have a short life because she'll have them suckers. They'll bleed her out, and then she'll get mated again by another
Exactly.
boar,
It's gonna be
and here it goes again. You know,
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
and that's why. Remember, I was
Vicious
saying, to you,
cycle.
like, it's like they get pushed away from the big mobs because
Yeah.
they're such a crappy
Pig, yeah.
crappy pig sort of thing.
kind of horrible, isn't it?
It is, well, but it's just
Nature's metal. That's the way it
yeah,
is.
that's it, man. That's it. Yeah. That's why all them ones in the big mob, they're all big, nice pigs, like big, fat pigs.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
yeah.
And so really we got actually super lucky with that wind at that point in time. And so we
Yeah.
went out this afternoon. We had a little kip today, and you couldn't sleep because the wind was that hectic.
The wind was pumping that much; it wasn't funny.
Yeah, and so we got back out, and it was always going to be a bit of a risky business, but we're like, we're going to be able to do this, and
Well, we had to give it a crack. Like,
we had to, yeah. Like in through those bushes and stuff, and we're like, there's openings every once in a while. We'll try it. The difference is that this morning we were looking from the top down, so you can spot them from a further distance. Today we were walking from the bottom up because of the way the winds were, and we did well. We spotted a lot of pigs.
Oh,
like
we
not
got
a
in.
lot. We got essentially 3 different opportunities.
Yeah, got in close too. Like
30
metres,
30
yeah.
metres, and every single time the wind spun on us.
Yep.
And these are big, decent sows. Like I saw them and my lips got
Oh,
the
yeah.
mouth is watering. I'm like, oh, here we go.
was it? I don't know whether it was the first lot we seen or the second lot. I was like, oh, these are the ones we want. Like,
they were just prime,
Yeah.
like perfect state.
proper good. Yeah, proper
But
crackers.
you know what's crazy is that although there's so much water here, from when it rained on Thursday when we got here versus Saturday afternoon, and it's so dry. Like in parts of it, like where it was slippery as all buggery before, it's just like dry and crispy now.
Say it's because it's like this is always a wet
All
block,
hills,
Matty.
yeah.
And it rains, but the ground's so full, so it just runs off.
troughs, yeah.
And then it's just dry again. Like you would have noticed how crispy everything was to walk on today as opposed to 2 days
2
ago,
days ago,
man.
yeah,
Like we were
definitely.
noisy as.
Yeah.
But
You
2
just can't
days
help
ago,
it. It's nothing.
You couldn't even hear us
Literally
creeping
nothing.
through there, mate.
Yeah,
like,
so crazy.
Yeah.
And I knew obviously it would run off, but I also thought because the block holds so much water in parts that it would all just hold that, but it just parts of it just didn't at all.
Yeah, some of it did, as you would have
Oh,
known when you
100%. Wet
you
feet.
get to them spots, man, and you're like even when we're trying to get around in the buggy, like it was pretty hardcore in the buggy, wasn't it? Like,
Oh, dude, we got literally bogged.
yeah,
Right,
we
had
did
to-
get
you
bogged. We
had
had
to
to stick her up
Put the
and
sticks in and everything.
give us
like,
some curry through a gate.
I wish I'd filmed that. It was great. You did it so perfectly.
Yeah, look, it was an accident. I'm not going to lie. I just whipped around like I was in Talladega Nights, mate.
Pretty
and
much.
away we went.
So you had to hammer through this fence because we're right at the gate when we got bogged. We had to open the gate. You had to hammer through the gate, spin it round as fast as you could because it was just as messy on the other side to be able to shoot back through. And it was like the perfect 180, dude.
Oh.
It was just like you nailed it.
It was on the spot 180. I was like, this is
I was
good.
like, whoa. I'm like, wow, wish him, yeah. And then
But-
you came
but
back through the exact same mud patch to get out. It was,
Yeah.
But like that patch today that we hit, and you just had to hit it with speed.
Yep.
And we just got coated in mud.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, no, it's wild country, mate. Like you can see why Jack just gets bogged all the time, and he's on his own. He's got to walk everywhere.
Poor bugger.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah.
You need to carry it. I don't know. You couldn't do anything different, right? Like
No.
apart from get a tractor into it.
Nah, he's just got to walk back, mate, and just get. Yeah, it's not good. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Bit like our hunting this weekend.
Yeah. We had a good run.
We did.
You cannot say we didn't see heaps of stuff. It was
Oh,
just
no.
hard yakking, man. Like,
It wasn't.
Yeah. And I think
It's just unfortunate every time we got close, the wind just did his thing. It was
did,
just bow
mate.
hunting, right?
Oh, this afternoon was so frustrating. Like it seemed like every time we got close, the wind just hit the back of our neck, and that was it.
It
Like,
felt like it was direct until we got, like it was in our face until
yep,
we got there,
right
and then it would
there,
spin.
and then it just turned.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
even when we like come back across the country, it was perfect when we started. And then as soon as we got down to a spot that looked like it might be really good for pigs,
Go.
bang straight in us again.
But I think the thing, and we've said it many times already, but the thing that most was interesting to me was just seeing the flightiness of the pigs this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
To see, I think realistically, the fact that they knew we were about,
Yep.
like, okay, that's a different scent to what I'm used to.
Yep.
It seemed like once they really all got a bit of a smell of us, they were hidden.
Yeah.
Like, they were well hidden. I feel like, although we walked through, so we pretty much, there's this, you think about essentially what, a K down roughly from top to bottom of the mountain. We did a low, a medium, and a high.
Yeah, mate. We shelved it.
And
yeah.
low, there was no sign whatsoever. Down close by the creek, not much, like old sign, really old sign.
Yeah, they definitely didn't hang out in the bottom of the creek. Like, that is for sure. Like, maybe the big old balls walked around there, but
Yeah.
the mobs were definitely not down there.
And so it was medium and high where we found them all.
Yep.
But once again, we weren't seeing the numbers that we saw that first day. And it's like,
No way.
they're gone. Like, I wonder. It's
Don't know,
interesting.
man,
Right,
but-
we'll never know.
There's just no tracks anywhere. That's what just, it baffled me the whole weekend. Like, where's these big pads where these pigs have been working? Like, a mob of 60 pigs is going to have a fair pad, like when
You'd
they're
think
using
so.
the same pad. Like,
And obviously, there's a lot of ground that's turned up here. Like it's
Oh,
all
yeah.
over the place. It's spread out. And maybe it's the fact that day it was just they all decided that they had a pig meeting they had to go to. They all had to hang out in the flats at the exact same time. And we just
could be the
disturbed
truth.
them because, and then maybe they just went off their little patches all over the place. But on that first proper day, we saw at least three different mobs.
Yep.
That we went through.
Yep.
And that was without going through all the thick stuff.
I don't think we touched the thick stuff that much on that
No,
first
we
day,
definitely
did we?
didn't.
No.
Didn't at all, really.
Yeah. We had to make that change the next morning when we realised they're not going to be in the
They're
flats
not up
again.
here. Yeah, they're just
and that
right
was
there.
all of the wind and yeah.
I think the biggest thing we've both talked about this weekend that we learned was that you just can't have expectations, right? You
Nah.
can't expect that something's going to happen because
Nah.
that's a life lesson, right? Like we should have well known, but
Yeah, look, I knew we had the grain piles and we had the cam footage and Jack had been seeing like
lots of them.
lots of pigs everywhere.
Yeah,
I never expected to just be able to go and sit on the grain pile and shoot the pigs.
Definitely not. That would never be my game plan either.
Definitely not.
But just the numbers
we just
saw,
knew that they were around, and that's what
Exactly.
made us really confident. But we didn't realise how much the wind was going to affect us this weekend. That's the other thing as well. Like
100%. I literally, I went and bought a whole new dozen of arrows. I'm like, we're going to have the best weekend.
Yeah, mate. I thought I was going home with an empty quiver.
And it's not the case at all. It's like, I think it's just that thing you got to remember, like, it's bow hunting at the end of the day. It's always going to serve it to you. Yeah. And if you think it's going to be easy, it's only going to make it harder.
It's never going to be easy, that's for sure. But that's what makes it good, too.
Exactly. Makes it so exciting, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And if you went down there and could just go bang, bang, bang,
no,
bang.
we wouldn't like it, dude.
You wouldn't like it.
We wouldn't like it at all.
We'd have too much meat to butcher, mate.
Yeah, we wouldn't get the podcast done. So manoeuvring from pig hunting to bow hunting, what gives you more of an like excitement or an adrenaline, like that urge to keep going?
Like with the bow hunting?
Like does bow hunting or does dog hunting do?
Nah, look, I want to get into dog hunting again once my boys get a little bit older, because I just want to keep like we spoke about, keeping the old school stuff sort of coming through into
Teach them how to work.
Teach them how to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to do that, but as far as you get a real mad adrenaline rush when your dogs are on like 100 kilo pig and it's throwing them around and you've got to go in and grab that prick.
I can imagine.
But stalking up on a pig, and I've said to you, like, I love getting in as close as I possibly can, and most of my kills have definitely been under 15 metres, if not 10. And I just love that. Like,
definitely.
And even today, like I told you, I had a bit of an adrenaline dump, and I don't know whether that was from the big ball coming up to us or what, but...
Because that's not something that you usually get, right?
Never. I've never had
shakes
it ever,
up all of a
mate.
sudden.
Yeah, I was shaking after I'd shot the pig, and I'd never ever had that. And it was only a small pig. Like, I've shot
much bigger pigs.
Yeah, much bigger pigs than that fella. But I was like, after I'd shot him, and he went down in 5'7", under 10 metres anyway.
He was quickly.
Well, once I shot him, he sort of dropped straight away. But when I put my bow down, I was like shaking. I'm like, what's going on here, man? But I reckon I get a real good kick out of the stalk, Matty. I love the stalk, mate.
And you said that to me multiple times this weekend. It's the fun part of it.
Yeah, it's the fun part for me.
I think that's what I really love about pigs and obviously you can do the same thing with deer, but it's a lot of a different game. But just how close you can get.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can walk a creek and walk that close to a pig.
Yeah,
and it's thrill seeking. Like,
when I shot them in my headlight that night, man, and they were very juvenile pigs. There's no doubt about that. But I shot like one at maybe 7 yards, and this is in the headlight. It was pitch black.
Yeah.
And the whole rest of the mob, like, they were running around my feet. They were touching my legs.
That's
and
crazy.
did not know I was there. Like,
but I mean, that's the same thing. So actually, we were walking back last night, and that's the only time they weren't flighty this weekend is when we put the spotlight on. Like, we just had our
100%,
torches because we were walking back in the complete dark.
Yep.
And we're like, is that pig? I'm like, yeah, it is. So we turned our torches on, and it didn't move. I'm like, what the heck? And we pretty much walked up to it before it maneuvered. We were, 10, 12 metres off of it?
Easy, mate.
And it ran
were
off.
closer than that. Like that boar that ran past was even closer.
They all ran back and they just manoeuvred around us. They didn't really care much at all.
No, it's crazy. The wind was...
It was right in our face.
Right in our
obviously,
face.
Yeah,
it was favourable then, but still, it's
crazy.
Wild. Yeah. It's wild. But, so you used, like, when we were dogging, like, crop country, hunting crop country with the dogs, like, you'd spotlight pigs. And unless they knew they were under extreme pressure, man, you could drive right up to them, like, and just drop dogs at, like, 20, 30 metres.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And the boars would just sit and watch because I don't know whether their eyes must not be affected by the light. That's all I can think of. Like,
Yeah, I always thought that, like, the different shades of light. So I think it was Ranch Fairy was telling me, like, the green light they don't see.
Yeah,
I think
right.
the red light they don't see, but I thouut the white light did affect him, but these guys, not at all. Like, maybe it's pigs are not the case. Maybe
I don't know. I know a white light on the stuff, like so we used to always use light force lights, which was just a halogen bulb, like the old yellow light.
Yeah.
And, obviously things upgrade and you go to the the bright lights.
Bit of a difference over a few years, right?
Yeah, but the white lights were always hard to see pigs on stubble because it'd make them look white in the stubble sort of thing. Like, say you'd sort of have to double take on what you were looking at. Yeah.
Yep.
They weren't the best for spotting pigs on the stubble flats. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You know, like, I remember rabbit hunting with my cousin, and he said the red light stops them dead in their track versus the straight spotlight. They'll stop eventually, but they'll maneuver a lot more.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. I've never done much rabbit hunting.
Mate, there's actually something that we've seen a few of, not heaps of, but on our drives out each morning, there's been some rabbits.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of little
almost felt like just say,
tails.
stop, let's take some shots. Let's take some bombers.
I said to you this morning, I was like, if we don't do any good with the pigs and we see some bunnies, we'll put the old broadheads on and just
have fun there.
And get into some buns, yeah.
Oh, dude. No, it's been good, and I have to say thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me, dude. I've had an incredible trip.
Nah, me too, man. No problem, Any time. It's just been different. Good advice from you. Learn a lot, nutrition-wise and hunting-wise.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It's been great.
Man full of knowledge, eh? But I mean, it's a pretty interesting situation because this is essentially it's a work block for you, but at the same time you're changing jobs, so you're losing access to 4 blocks.
A lot, yeah, a lot of country.
A lot of country, yeah. But it just means that new opportunities will open up.
Yeah, look, I'm going back home to my old country, Matty, so hopefully can, rekindle some stuff there, mate.
Definitely.
It'll be pretty good. Like, don't have a bad name around the area. That's the main thing.
Exactly right. You're a good dude. You've always done well by people.
Yeah,
so
that's it. And that's the main thing. Like, just don't muck up and you'll always get on somewhere. Like,
I mean, it's pretty much the way, right? If you're a good human and you keep doing the right things by the farmer, they're happy to keep having you back.
Yeah, mate. Just don't put the pressure on. Like, just take it as it comes, and that's the main thing. Yeah, don't pressure anyone.
Yeah.
If you're chasing country, just don't pressure anyone.
And we talked about that a bit this weekend. Yeah. Like the mistakes people make when asking for country. Like, I think that's
and we've spoke about a couple, but like it's wrong thing said, and it just gives you a sour taste. Eh?
Yeah, definitely. And it can literally just be the. It's almost like, what is it, like the insinuation that it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
That's almost
never
like,
assume that
stuff.
Yeah,
it's almost like that overprivileged feeling that it should be your thing to do. And it's like, no, that's exactly what will turn people off of you coming to
Definitely, yeah. And you should never do something. Like, you should never do something and expect something in return just because you've done that. Like,
definitely.
That's the thing. Like,
I almost feel like if you're going to a block, no matter what block it is, you should try to leave it better off than when you got there.
Yep.
Right? Like, that's just like the preface you should go for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely, mate.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. Look after the place. Don't leave crap laying around and just,
Yeah.
say thanks to the bloody coffee. That's the main thing.
At least, right?
Yeah, that's it. Don't wreck their buggy. Which we haven't.
If your tire goes flat, at least fill it back up. Eh?
Put some air in it. It costs nothing.
We came back to a flat tire this morning.
Nearly flat.
It was so close.
It got us home.
But when we looked for the repair kit, the Jackaroos.
Thank you, Jackaroos.
Had not put anything back in place.
They'd left out the whole compartment with all the stuff in it. The air compressor was still there, just no hose.
So we had no choice but to make a trek back.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It was actually so fine. It had enough air in it.
Yeah, to get us home.
Yeah, and then we literally came back and pumped it, and it was good. The rim was a little bit off.
I don't think it even went flat this afternoon.
It definitely didn't.
Yeah.
Like, when we came back, I definitely checked it because I was like, I wonder if it's gone down.
Yeah. They're bloody... Yeah, pricks the rims, them tubeless ones on them, yeah.
Yeah, they are. Actually, before we shut off, was there anything interesting to you about the butchering process of the pig today?
Yeah, mate, it was all different to me. So I've grown up doing it, obviously, with a bandsaw and all that.
Yeah.
Like I've said to you, I'm no professional at it. I've done it.
Yeah.
Never with
just
a wild
through work,
one.
whatever you're doing.
But how less, like you took everything. That's what was the impressive thing. Like, there's literally a spine left. That's it. Yeah, no, it got me interested proper good, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And I love just showing the
cuts were interesting.
I think the way that I do it is, like, I think it's simple because it's the way that I know.
Yeah.
But just to show, like, okay, well, if you come down here, you've got your lines. So
yeah,
you just
man.
chop that, and then you've got this next line. And you just follow your lines, and you're good to go.
That's what blew me away a little bit because of how the meat showed the cuts. Like, I'd never looked at it that way until you'd showed me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like you were like, oh, yeah, so you follow
this
that line
line.
there and that's this cut and that's that cut. I was like, oh, yeah, the meat's actually telling you where to cut right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so I think like one of the biggest ones where I think people potentially find it scary is your skirt cut across from the bottom leg. So you got your skirt that is essentially their belly. So you cut your skirt back and follow the line of the leg, and then you can go directly around that, and you pretty much got your back strap from there.
Yeah.
Like we look at the bottom, like where the leg meets the body, you go around the back and you can see your rump. And so as long as you cut underneath your rump, you're pretty much good for your back strap, just straight through.
Yeah.
The other one is the other one that doesn't get missed, but the eye fillets or the tenderloins.
Yeah, see, I'd never seen that one done.
Yeah, and so it's just you just literally, if you can knock the tension off of the top. So when you think when I say the top, it's actually the bottom of the pig, the back end of the pig, but because it's hanging,
it's
also
the top
bottom end of the animal, whatever you're cutting.
Yep.
As soon as you cut that tension, they flop, and you just chop them out like you would a backstrap. Even
right.
easier. Like,
Yeah, I
so
never
much
seen
simple.
you do
Yeah,
them
because you're
ones.
off doing the fire.
Yeah, I seen them in the pig, and I was going to ask you
What
about
it is.
what that is. Yeah.
and that's literally some of the best meat on your animals.
Well, see, even when we're doing home butchering, Matty, we
don't touch it?
We don't touch that, man. Like
it's
that.
because
That
it's so
just
small on a lamb, but still it's edible meat. Like,
yeah,
it's good
but
stuff.
that just ends up in the chops, you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
and I mean, in that sense, then it doesn't matter, right? You're still getting it.
But it was interesting how you cut the back legs off, like
Around the hip joint.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
if you had like in the bandsaw,
You cut at the spine, and then you cut through the middle.
100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you just done. And that's obviously a clean process. You get absolutely everything.
Oh yeah. But you
But-
got all that big narky bone too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
You
I
take
like
the whole
your
hip
way
joint.
because
It's clean off the bone. You pretty
clean off
much
the bone. You're missing
Yeah.
that whole bone there.
Yeah, and the whole process there is you obviously just need to shape out your hip bone. And the biggest thing I think where people stuff up is there's that little, it's almost like a socket joint without it actually being a socket.
Yeah.
And you cut around that, like as you're cutting up, you have to cut up, go around the little bulb and then cut back hard on it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a flat surface that you cut back, and that's where you get all your meat off of.
Yeah, so when, like for dog tucker, so I've cut plenty of legs off for dog tucker. So when you're doing that on the back legs, they're the easiest for me.
Just straight through the
Because
fucking
you
joint.
just go straight through, and then all you do is just grab the hock and just give it a flick, and it just pops that joint. You go straight through, and happy days.
Don't worry about the rest of it.
Yeah, that's it. Just done.
Done.
Yeah,
Dude, good chat.
yeah awesome, mate. Awesome. Been a great weekend. I've had a terrific time. My feet are killing. I'm not going to lie.
Full of blisters.
Yeah,
not done well.
one blister on the first night.
Yeah, it's going to mess you up, isn't it?
Nah, should be right, mate. We'll get through.
We've done well. I mean, obviously we're both a bit beaten, but we've had a fun weekend. It's well worth it.
Yeah, mate, definitely. Yeah, probably be my last one for a while, actually. So
Yeah, with the move
Big
and
move
everything,
on,
right?
yeah.
It's gonna
gonna tie me up.
Yeah, I don't even know about mine. It'll be my last one for at least a good few months. So
Yeah, geez, I hope I get it in. Get one in before that.
well, I mean, with it still being right out your back door, you hope you could at least find some.
I definitely.
weather.
I reckon I'll get one. I'll get one in
It's just-
before I go.
So as a situation, you've essentially had a bad manager come on place, and then not only is he a bad manager, but he's also been shooting all your pigs, and so you've not had good hunting at home.
He's been popping them.
And
Yeah.
So your hunting's completely transitioned.
Yeah, totally. You used to be able to walk around the hills and just
Get 'em.
see him all the time, and just
It's kind of
not
devastating.
like that.
right?
Oh, it is, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you've had a couple of years of just being able to knock off work and grab
Go
the
for
bow and
Yeah.
just walk like literally half an hour and you're up something, you know.
Yeah.
That's all changed.
Oh well, we'll have to keep following for the next one. So, what's your Instagram again? Fully _
Fully
unqualified.
Unqualified, yep, for all us fellas who work hard with no ticket.
no actual. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of them. And to be honest, some of the richest people in the world are those people.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's all good, eh?
Never actually went to uni. Never. Yeah, it just shows you don't really need that stuff. Although your new job is going to get you one anyway, right?
Hopefully, mate. That's the plan, mate. Yeah, a bit of hard work will get me there, eh?
Proper, fully
Yeah.
signed off diesel fitter.
Yeah,
You'll
and I'll
there.
be able to change it to fully unqualified, now qualified. Bit longer,
If you're
but
listening in 3-4 years time, search for
4
that one.
years time, look for that one. It'll be me.
If you're listening to this in 2026. Oh, Matt, thank you, dude. It's been good fun.
Nah, thank you, Matty. It's been awesome, mate.
That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bow Hunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you're enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bow Hunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bow Hunter.